Hi and welcome to another tutorial. In today's lesson we'll learn how to recreate this cool looking app design using Adobe XD. So anyways guys, let's jump in. So the first thing that we have to do here is we have to create a new design, and I've just gone for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and once I've added that in I can just rename it Home. The next thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you have all your assets ready to go. So I've got a folder here with all of my assets, and these come from websites such as LottieFiles, SVGREPO, and UI Faces. So if you haven't seen those places, you should really go and have a look at these and make sure that you download all the animations and everything that you need, because without this stuff, it will make it a lot more difficult. So once you have that and you're ready to go, the first thing that we need to do is we need to choose a color scheme. So I'm just using Color Hunt here, and I'm just going to take a screenshot of that, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste it up here, and I'm going to always refer to that. I'm not going to choose any colors that aren't inside this color scheme except maybe black and white, but we'll see how we go. So your toolbar is on this side, your properties are on this side, and your components and things like that are over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle that covers my artboard. And we don't need the border, so we're going to take the border off, and we're going to change the fill. I'm going to probably use this color here. Now I don't want a solid fill, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to a gradient, and for my second color of the fill, maybe I'll choose something like that, and I'm going to change the angle, maybe something like that. Cool. So now the next thing that we need to do is I'm just going to grab the pen tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click and then click and hold and create a nice curve that goes down there, and then just join it back up. And then what I'm going to do is take the border off and put a nice white fill on there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate that. So if I click on that and hold Option and move it up and down, now I can actually duplicate that, and that creates a nice little stroke or something there. So I think that looks pretty cool. The next thing that we need to have is we need to have our logo. So I'm just going to import it from my assets. Cool. So there's my logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in there nicely. I'm just going to arrange the size and make sure that it fits in the middle of that document. I also need some text over here. So I'm going to grab the T tool and I'm going to write some text, and I'm going to write Learning Made Easy. Now the font that I'm using, firstly I'm going to change the color to white. I'm going to make it all caps, and then I'm going to change the font. So I am going to use Lato, and I'm going to probably change the size to about 30, and I'm going to make sure that it is light. And so now what I can do is I can now move that and arrange it to wherever I need it to go. So this is going to be my first component. So if I right click on that and go make component, and now if I label that and go text light, all right, now I've got that already as a component, and I can drag that out whenever I want. So the next element in here is going to be an animation. Now when dealing with the animations, when you download them, you need to download the Lottie file as a JSON file. So this one here. And if you've done that correctly, now you can put your animation in there, and it looks something like that. So now when you preview that, now you can see your animation is working nicely. So the final thing that we are going to add in here is a button. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a button here at the bottom, just like that. And then I'm going to make sure that it's in the center. You can also use the align tools if you want. I'm going to round it by, let's say 10, and I'm going to change the border, and I'm going to change the color to something a little bit lighter. So now we need some text in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the T tool, and I'm just going to write let's begin. And if you want to increase the size or anything like that, you can, but I'm going to keep it like that, and I'm just going to put it in the middle. And actually I am going to increase the size a bit, so maybe something like that. And I can even do all caps So it looks like that. So now that we have this text, I'm gonna make that a component as well. And I'm just gonna call that text bold. And so now I can move on to the next page. So to make a new page, what I need to do is I need to highlight everything, press Control C and then Control V to paste. And then I can get rid of all the elements that I don't need. So I'm going to start with something like that, but I am going to change the gradient over here. So I'm going to choose a different color. I'm going to choose the lighter color on this side, and I will go and choose the sort of darker color on that side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that around a bit. And just to add some design elements, I'm just going to add a circle on this side with no border, but the darkest color fill. And then I'm just going to drag that down to about 80%. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate that. So I'm holding Option. And now I can duplicate that other circle. I'm just going to make it a bit smaller, maybe even change the opacity a little bit more like that. So it gives a kind of unique design. So now that we've got our bold text, we can put our bold text up here. So I'm just going to write in there, welcome. We need to have a burger icon for a little bit of navigation, I guess. And this can be found from SVGREPO. So I've put my little burger animation in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the border to white, and I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker. So if I put it up to about 5, that looks pretty cool, and it's just a bit too big. So I'm just going to hold Shift and make sure that it goes into that top area over there. So welcome, I'll move that to this side. Then I'm going to grab some more text. I'm going to grab some of my light text. And then I'll put the person's name. So let's put that down there. Marco. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little search bar. So to do this, what I need to do is I need to grab the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw out a rectangle like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the select tool and draw another rectangle. And this time I'm going to put it the size of that burger icon. So we don't need any borders for this, but we are going to round them slightly. So it's going to look maybe something like that, maybe not as thick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an icon in here. Cool, so I have the icon, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the color. So I'm going to use that blue over there. And then I'm going to also put another icon in there. Cool. And then I'm also going to change the color to that. So now we've got that, and what we're going to do is we're going to add some text in here. Now the text I want in black, and this time I want it maybe 30. I don't want it. I want a light version of that text. And now I have some darker text in there. So now I'm just going to just organize it just so it sits in there nicely. Cool, so now I can make that a component as well. So this is gonna be text, light, and then black. And so now we're gonna have some navigation at the top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold Option and re-drag out that little box over there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rearrange it slightly. So I've got something like that. And then I'm going to drag that black text in there. And obviously the text is very big, so I'm just going to make it smaller. And I'm going to write the programming languages in there. So cool. So now that I've got my text in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this grid all the way over here. And I'm going to add another asset. So this is the asset that I'm going to put in here, like a little close button. And I'm just going to click and drag and then put it in there. Maybe make it smaller, something like that. And I'll leave it just like that. Cool. So now once we have that, then what you can do is you need to group that. So I'm just going to lock the background as well, so I'm not moving it. So if I highlight all of that stuff and press Command G, now I've created a group out of all of those things. Then if I go up to repeat grid, now I can put all my options in there, and I'll just cut it about Maybe we'll go and do 5 options. So now that I have that, now I can write, you know, whatever I want in here, CSS, HTML, Java. Cool. The only other thing that I was going to do in here is just change the fill. So if I go to my color palette and if I maybe click on this color over here. So now the only other thing that I was going to do is I was just going to click on this and then change the fill. Cool. So now I've got all of that, and to make this scrollable, what I can do is if I click on this and I'm just going to make the spacing a little bit smaller in between. If you go up to this section over here and put scroll groups on here, now when I preview that, now you will see that this is now scrollable. So that looks pretty cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the nav bar at the bottom. So that's pretty easy to do. All we are going to do is just grab a rectangle tool and draw a small little box with no border. And then what we are going to do is we're going to add our assets in there. So here we are with our assets over here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them onto our little nav bar. So in order to get the hand icon, you can always hold space, and I think that's a pretty cool shortcut. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rearrange them, and I'm just going to make sure that that's in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that it's the same size. So I'll just do that like that. And then what I can do is I can just arrange them to however I want. So for example, now we have them evenly spaced on each of the sides, and I think that looks pretty cool. And all we need to do is write some text underneath them. So if I grab the T tool, and then if I write, you know, home, and if I change the color to black, make it all caps and maybe even bold, now I can put it under this section over here. Cool. So now once we have all of that, we can kind of highlight all of that without this circle, and we can make that a component as well. So this is going to be our nav. All right. So now we need 2 sections in here. We need one for courses and we need one for trainers. So to do that, it's pretty easy. All we need to do is we need to grab some text that's bold. And once we've done that, then what we can do is we can draw a rectangle in here, and I'll just make it, something like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another rectangle inside there. Again, it's going to be maybe something like that. I'm going to take off the border and I'm going to put our picture in there. So the asset that I've used is just from Canva, and all I have to do is just drag it into that section that I made for that picture in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the curving of the boxes. So I'm going to put them both to 5, and then we just need a little bit of text down here, and we can take off the border as well. Cool. So now that we've got that, I'm just going to put a little bookmark icon on here. Cool. So now we can group all of that together. So with the text and the box. So again, Command G to group, then again, repeat grid. And we're just going to add, let's say 3 courses in here. Then all I have to do is just change the text. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just put the scrolling on, and I'll just leave the scrolling stuck to there. So now that we have that, then the final thing that we need to do in here is the instructors bit. So what I'm going to do is, actually, I'm just going to make this text. If I double click on the text, I can put a drop shadow on there so it's easier to see. I'm just going to duplicate that, and I'm just going to put popular trainers, and then I'm going to repeat the process again. This time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a circle in here, and then I'm just going to align it. I'm going to maybe change the color to one of the colors that I've got in here, and then just increase the size, and then I'm going to add my UI faces in there. Cool. So now I've got that trainer in there, and honestly, I can make that picture a bit bigger, and then all I need to do is just add some text. And if I need to make that smaller, I can. So now I've got something that looks like that. And so again, I'm going to be doing the same thing, highlight it all, group it, then go to repeat grid, and I can just duplicate that just like that. I'll just increase that spacing so you don't see it. I'm gonna click that button, scroll groups, and then all you have to do is just go in there and change the people's names to whatever you want. Cool. So now once you have that, if you preview that, you can check out if these things actually slide across, and that is working fine. So let's move to the next page, which is going to be the courses page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename that to dashboard. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press Command C, Control V to paste. And this is going to be the courses page. So I don't really need absolutely everything in here. But what I do need, so first I'll just get rid of all the stuff that I don't need. So I'll get rid of all this bar, you know, maybe something like that. I'll keep this because I'm going to be turning this into a video section, but I don't need the repeat grid anymore. And so all I need to do is just get rid of all of that stuff. And that's pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and move this up slightly. I'm gonna get rid of the text. I'm gonna make it maybe a touch smaller, just like that. And I'm just gonna have a place for my text. And I'll get rid of the bookmark. I don't really need the bookmark. So I need an icon in here. So again, I've just gone to SVGREPO. And that's the icon that I want. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger. I'm gonna change the colors to white, and I'm just going to put it in the middle of that little document there, and then I'm just going to copy and paste some text in here. Cool. And so now I've got my text in there, and I think that looks really good, and that page is complete. So now I have my dashboard, I have the courses page, and I have the beginning page. The final page is going to be the profile page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to press Command C and then Control V to paste, and this is going to be the profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep a lot of this the same. So maybe I'll get rid of the text here, and I'll just make something a little bit smaller. I don't really need that anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my UI faces in here. So I'm going to draw a pretty big circle, just like that. And I am going to keep a border. So I'll just change the color to maybe something like that. And I'll put the border to 5, and then I'll throw my UI faces in there. Cool. So now that I have my profile picture, that's looking pretty cool. I need like an achievements kind of section over here. So if I just create something like that, pretty easy to do. All I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of the text that I have. So I'm going to break this up into 3 things. I will have activities. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some more text. Now fill it in with some numbers. And the final thing that I'm going to do is just have a divider just over here. So it's just a line. Cool. So now the final thing I'm going to add in here is just our graph. And this was just an animation from LottieFiles. And so once it's there, I'm just going to drag this out and just make it fit that section there. And then just put my graph in there nicely. So cool, that is the design section complete. The final section that we need to do is the navigation. So I'll show you how to do it. that. If you go to the prototyping section, all you have to do is click on your groups and then link them to everywhere. So courses need to go here, home needs to go here, profile needs to go here, and I'll show you how to do that. And cool. And so now once you've done all of that, then if you go into preview, cool. So now once you have that, if you click on one of these things, you can see all of your little app things are working nicely. You can go to your courses, you can go back home. You can go to your profile and you can see everything there. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this short tutorial on Adobe XD. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.